based on the assumption of that certain miracle, the battle would come. Virgilia, who was standing in the front row, tried to call out as soon as Balor walked by. She tried to tell him that the window sill in the next room over had been confirmed, hoping that this would give him a hint. However, she had been marked perfectly. The instant she tried to lean forward, two Chister sisters right behind her grabbed her arms. It was a powerful force preventing her from going forward. Unable to move, she was forced to stay there and watch as Balor walked past.
バトラク。
彼は今もたった一人、密室で戦っておられます。しかし、あの密室は自分だけの力では抜けられない。誰かが助けに来なければ抜けられない。
あの子が助けに来なければ、バトラ君は出られないのですね。
密室の鍵さえあれば必ずその方法をお嬢様ならきっと。お嬢様、あなたの人生にはきっと何度も試練があったでしょう。しかしどうかこの試練にだけはお打ち勝ちください。あなたならきっとできます。このロノそれを疑いません。
The bride and groom slowly processed down the path to the grave and reached the altar. Though walking slowly was ceremonious and proper etiquette, it was also tiring. I mean, really, a.k.a. is basically carrying Balor all by herself. She couldn't carry him on her back, like a piggyback ride, so she has to drag him by the hand while he's on the floor. Like a sack of potatoes, basically. Erika glanced over to Balor. Of course, his eyes were blank. His heart was still inside that locked room. Once more, the sound of the Chister honor guards stamping their heels rang out loudly. Silence returned to the cathedral. Now, the wedding ceremony would finally begin.
人は愛のために生きるのです。すなわち、今日あなた方は生まれてきた意味を、目的を成し遂げた。は
あ、生きる力、愛の力のなんと偉大なことか。今日という日の輝きがどうかお二人を永遠に祝福しますように。
さあ、愛し合う二人を、愛の制約を、物言えぬ夫に代わりて、
妻は二人を代表して制約を。バトラはエリカを、エリカはバトラを。健やかな日もやめる日も支え合って生きることを誓います。聞こえませんよ、バトラさん。文句があるならもっとはっきり大きな声で言ってください。
He's trying to say that he doesn't want a cat as the family pet, as it suggested, you know, but instead he wants a dog.
Oh, how silly, Batora. You will learn soon enough in this relationship that what I say is not a suggestion. It's the law! No inu, only neko.
Yeah, I know, it sucks. I do like dogs a lot more.
それ以上の文句が終わりでしたら、まずはロジックエラーの密室からお出になってからにしてください。安心して その日まで永遠に私があなたを支えてあげますから。
二人の愛の制約を聞きました。ああ、誓いよ、永遠なれ。
Thunderous applause celebrated their marriage of servitude. After the oath, they will physically signify the bond. Uh-oh. It was the exchanging of the rings. Ah, okay. The territory's lord's ring with the one wiggity engraved on it that sat on Balor's finger will become Erika's. By this, she will become the ruler of this game board. And in exchange, Balor's finger would be given a diamond ring that Erika had prepared. At a glance, it just looked like a ring adorned by a large diamond. However, this cursed ring would force Balor into an eternal subservience and brand him as another's property. Man, it looks so pretty though. To think that such beauty can represent so much suffering. The locked room so-called marriage. And the ring that represents the noose. There you go, there you go.
さあ、二人は指輪の交換を。
身動きできぬ夫の指を妻はどうか支えてあげて。
Erika respectfully took Balor's left hand and slowly pulled off the territory lord's ring that sat on his ring finger. And that was the ring Bato had entrusted him with. Erika stole it away.
これがあの女の残した指輪なんですよね。それを私みたいな女に奪われるのってどんな気持ちですか？はい、聞こえません。もう一度お願いします。
地獄。こちら。
なんだ、それならご安心を、バトラさん。
Erika pressed her lips up against Balor's earlobe as if biting it, and told him where they were.
ここがそこですよ。
Then, slowly, she took Bato's ring, which she had stolen from Balor, and slipped it onto her own left hand.
では花嫁、続いてあなたの指輪を花婿に。
すごい指輪ね。彼を永遠に逃がさない。これは稼だわ。特注ですから。
Even Balor's blank eyes could see the diamond ring Erika held. It was like Erika herself. On the outside, it shone beautifully and possessed an absolute hardness that would bend to no one's will. And on the inside, to symbolize never letting go of the prey that it latched onto. It had 8 sharp thorns pointing inwards. If they had been growing onto the other side, it would have looked like the color of a hellhound. However, whoever heard of putting those on the inside? She turned the diamond until it clicked, and the forms retracted. In other words, if she twisted it after putting the ring on his finger, the inward-facing forms would bite down, never releasing until the end of time. Then, even his soul would be trapped, and his body, mind, and soul would be forced to serve Erika for all eternity.
ふざけるな。そんな。
Who the hell would wear a ring like that? He couldn't even finish speaking that simple phrase. And furthermore, those awkward words were the only way he could resist. She raised Balor's left hand and stroked his ring finger hungrily. Erika held the ring of servitude against the tip of his finger. The ring can hurt if it's made to fit too tightly, and it can even become impossible to take off. However, this ring was never intended to be removed for life anyway, so its inner band had been mercilessly narrowed. Even without the forms, forcing a small ring like this on would hurt.
この指輪はあなたの身も心も魂も全てを永遠に閉じ込めます。そしてあなたは永遠に生きた人形。死ぬことも許しません。私に永遠に怪我され恥ずかしめられ、私が勝利の美酒の味を忘れるたびに、あなたはその身をもって私にそれを思い出させるのです。何度も何度もね。舌が噛めるなら今のうちにどうぞ。指輪が通ればそれすらもできなくなりますから。
Balor didn't even possess the strength to bite his tongue. And even if he had possessed it, he didn't want to give up before finding a way to escape the lock room. So he could never bring himself to commit suicide. However, once this ring was forced upon him, he would never be able to even think about escaping from the room, much less kill himself. Beatrice, wherever you are, you better be quick and stop this. Hope you will be able to come here on your white steed to save Balor.
ダメです。ほら、指入れますよ。
It wasn't just the pain of having his finger forced through the tight ring. The curse of the ring fiercely tormented Balor's body from the inside. That pain would always torment them. But, fortunately for him, the ring's power would also steal away the mind that couldn't stand that pain. Erika kept screwing on the demonic ring that was far too small.
"大丈夫です。入りますから。ちゃんと。
With an obscene laugh, Erika let the silver thread drip from her mouth and wet his finger in the ring. Alright, keep it PG. Keep it PG here. Like, do we have any witch or demon children in the audience? No? Okay, good.
力を抜いてください。
I mean, at least I hope that Maria and Sakutaro are not here.
一気に奥まで入れちゃいますから。
No.
無駄な抵抗なんかしないでください。抵抗しない方が痛くないですよ。ほら、胸って入るようになった。
Slowly, slowly, Balor's finger went deeper and deeper through the ring. He was pushed through the iron ring of pain and humiliation, which would never be removed again. The demonic ring squeezed his finger so tight, and it seemed the finger would snap off along with the bone. Balor's hazy expression of anguish really communicated how unbearable this sickening pain was. Christ. Now I just realized. Maybe that moment around the beginning of the game when, well, now we know that it was Balor. It was the mysterious person that was locked inside that creepy room. It was the locked room of the logic era. Balor's finger got snapped when reaching out the window inside inside that room. It may reference this moment here.
一番奥まで入れたまま最後の仕上げですよ。これでもうあなたは永遠に私のもの。
Anika touched the ring's diamond knob. If she twisted it, the thorns would bite in and never let go again.
いいですよ。許してください、エリカ様って言えたらやめてあげます。
本当。
お許しください、エリカ様。生涯を犬として扱われ、首輪につながれて生きることを誓いますから、この指輪だけはお許しくださいって。そう言えたら、この指輪だけは許してあげます。はい、よく聞こえませんよ。
許さねえ。絶対てめえを許さね
あなたをこんな目に合わせちゃって。
え。違う。ベアとの指輪を怪我したお前を俺は絶対許さねえ。
Balor's eyes had supposedly been forced into a clouded state. They looked strong for just an instant. However, it really was only for an instant. Balor had used up the last of his fleeting resistance, just to say those words. In his dim consciousness, he had even bitten his own tongue to stay alert, so that he could complete his words of resistance.
やはり あなたは飼いならせない犬って感じです。でもそこがいい。
Anika smiled. Then she turned the diamond. The instant she did, Better let out a voiceless scream and threw his head back. His howl had no voice and could be heard by no one. However, it still rang out throughout the cathedral. A desolate wind blew through the golden rose garden. Shannon and Kanon had already finished walking 19 steps, and their backs still faced each other. I can imagine. The more steps they took, the more painful it would be for these two. Just like the passing years must have felt for them. At the signal of the demons responsible for this trauma, they will both turn and sell this. Each of them held one of the dwelling pistols that the demons had prepared. The bullets promised certain death, no matter where on the body they hit. And this duel would not end until one of them died. George and Jessica just quietly watched the ones they loved. And they had already entrusted all their thoughts to them and their fates. And just watching over their partners was now the only way they could show their trust. Shannon and Kanon stood quietly with their backs turned. And they had already put the emotions and the many days they had spent together behind them. And the next time they laid eyes on each other, nothing would be asked of them except pulling the trigger. And the only one who still had no determination or resolution with regard to this duel was Bato. And the closer that moment came, the less she understood. The love between George and Shannon wasn't standing in the way of the love between Jessica and Kanon, or vice versa. Why, when both sides could find happiness, were they forced to kill each other? Okay. I guess this is it. As far as I can understand, it would seem that this is a mystery that it won't be open to interpretation until the end of time. It is something that will be revealed soon enough. I do have my theory. I have said what I had to say before about why this is happening, and I do believe it to be the case. Now what matters is for Bato to figure it out too. You will. You will. With certainty.
妹よ、我らには見守ることしか許されぬ。
ゼパルさん、フルフルさん、どうしてこんな決闘を？こんなの恋の試練じゃない。やっぱりあなたたちは悪魔なんです。どちらかの恋人たちを破綻させて、それを見て喜びたいだけの悪魔なんです。
静かに。
恋人たちの邪魔になるわ。
邪魔をしてるのはあなたたちじゃないですか。どちらかが倒れる。倒れた方の恋人たちが嘆き悲しむ。あなたたちさえいなければ誰も悲しまない。
それは違う。僕たちがこの決闘を取り持たなかったら。
2組はどちらも破綻したわ。これは必要な決闘なの。
私は最初から納得できなかったんです。魔法の奇跡がなければ恋って成し遂げられないんですか。恋って愛し合う2人さえいれば他に何もいらないんじゃないんですか。この決闘は無意味です。だからやめて、2人とも。シャノンもカノンも。あんなにも実の兄弟のように仲良しだったあなたたちがどうして殺し合わなくちゃいけないの。私にはどうしてもわからない。
Everyone should have been able to hear Berto's yell. However, no one's expression changed.
そうだよ。よく気づいたね。
それこそ愛の真実。
何がですか。
愛し合う2人以外に本来は何もいらないんだ。
だからそれが2人でない時、私たちは決闘でその数を2人にしなくてはならない。
一人の女性を奪い合っての決闘ならまだわかります。愛し合ういびつな3人を2人にする決闘。しかし彼らは2人と2人、それぞれの世界はもう完成されてるじゃないですか。争わなければならない理由が何もない。
世界を生み出す最小の人数は2人。
2人が揃って初めて世界は生まれ、恋は成就される。
だからこの決闘は必要なんだ。
彼らがその人数を満たすために。
家具は人間未満だから一人を満たせないと言い出すんですか。
正解だよ。家具は人間未満だから、家具と人間じゃ2人を満たせない。
そんなのおかしいです。愛し合う2人の身分なんて関係ない。
いいや、あるよ。本当に愛し合う2人の身分は関係ないの？
妻を持つ男との恋は許されるの？夫を持つ女との恋は許されるの？
親との恋は許されるの？子との恋は許されるの？恋の許されない身分なんていくらでもある。
じゃあ家具って何なんですか。どうして家具は恋をしちゃいけないんですか。
魂が一人に満たないから。シャノンもカノンも駒である君ももちろん。
あなたたちはみんな家具。魂が一人分に満たないから人間以下。
人を愛する資格はただ一つ。一人に満たつ魂を持っていること。だから愛し合う二人は世界を生み出せる。
例えば妻を持つ男はもう一人の女を愛する資格を持つと思う？
あるわけがない。二人の女を愛せばその愛情は一人分に満たない。そのような男に愛する資格はない。
Yeah, polygamy is a big no-no.
ね、人を愛する資格のない人間や身分なんていくらでもあるの。 二人の愛の一切あれば関係ない？それは甘い愛の偽善。
僕たちはね、恋をする資格を偽る人間を許さない。世界を生み出す最小人数を満たせない人間以下の存在の恋を許さない。僕たちの試練はそのためにある。罪深き魂たちに一人分の魂を取り戻させ、本当の恋ができるようにするために。
ゼパル様、フルフル様。
Oh. I won't lie. Even if I do understand the situation, the term furniture has always eluded me. What a furniture represents. Like, why a furniture can love. I guess a definition for it is an incomplete human. One whose love is not for one, but multiple people. A.k.a. Jessica, George, and Beller, if I'm to go with my previous ideas. Although, if I'm to go by that kind of definition, I feel like that would apply to the person who holds multiple personalities, not the individual personalities themselves. Actually, no, hold on. Like it does. If only one individual exists at a time. You know what? I'm gonna leave this for later. Like, the point is, when love is chosen, when love is singular, that is when a furniture finally becomes human. That is what I believe to be the case now.
僕たちの心の準備ができました。
Alright.
どうか決闘の合図をお願いします。
The pair bidding farewell quietly asked for the signal to be given. Zepar nodded silently, then walked to a place that could be seen by both of them. Furfur spoke in a voice quiet enough to avoid distracting the two duelists.
見ているといいわ。
愛し合う恋人たちのどちらかが破綻する決闘を。
いいえ、これは破綻のための決闘じゃない。本当の恋を成就させるための決闘。
私にはあなたたちの言っている意味がわからない。
いいえ、わかりなさい。これは本当に人を愛することができる人間が誕生する瞬間。
意味がわからない。
どちらが勝とうともどうか祝福してあげて。今彼らの家具としての日々が終わる。
合図は簡単。僕が1、2の3を数える。3と同時に決闘開始だ。
承知してます。
同じく。
2人が共に弾を外したら一度中断。再び弾を与え、もう一度背中合わせからやり直し。
決着がつくまで繰り返したら。
ゼバル、この決闘過去に何度も見てるのかい？
もちろん何度も見てきたよ。
大抵何度の打ち合いで決着がつくんだい？
ほとんどの場合、弾丸一発で決着がつくよ。
みんな随分と拳銃の腕がいいんだな。
違うよ。片方が外せば残った方は悠々と追い詰めて撃つことができる。初段をもし外したらまず勝ち目はないね。
しかしぼんやりしていれば引き金も引けずに負けることになる。
同じ負けるならせめて引き金を引いてから負けたい。
いい覚悟だよ、二人とも。では行くよ。1
2の3。
The golden rose card. When the number 3 was yelled, the sound of gunfire rang out once. Even the people watching couldn't tell whether there was a single gun firing, or the sound of both going off at the same time. In the midst of the stench of gunpowder and white smoke, there, with gun raised and smoke trailing from the barrel, was Khan. I guess this is it. It has been decided. Shannon was lying on earth face down.
シャノンさいや、シャノンが倒れたのは銃声より早かった。
Jessica's distressed expression was enough to explain what had happened. Holy Mother of God. Slowly, Shannon stood up. There was no bullet wound anywhere on her body. And at the time of the signal, Shannon had thrown herself to the ground, dodging the bullet. It had been a gamble. If Kanon had turned around and taken the time to aim carefully before shooting, then he would have shot her as she lay there. However, if Kanon shot as soon as he turned around, she would be able to dodge it. Kanon had also gambled. He did not underestimate Shannon's skill with a firearm. He was fully aware that hoping Shannon would be timid enough to let him shoot first could result in him losing before even pulling the trigger. So, he had decided to shoot right away. And he had predicted that when he shot, Shannon would excessively pull the trigger too. Since he was already planning to shoot right away, he was sure that his readiness would allow him to shoot with greater accuracy than her. If Kanon had cautiously turned around, and Shannon had shot instantly with the strength of her will, then Kanon wouldn't even have been able to pull the trigger. So, it wasn't that Kanon had acted hastily. The two had simply given it their all, left their fates to the heavens, and reached this result.
"私も意外だった。あの慎重なカノン君が振り向きざまなんてね。
As Shannon quietly pointed barrel at him, she slowly walked forward. She planned on cautiously closing the gap until she reached a distance from which she could hit with even more certain accuracy. And Kanon had already more certain accuracy. Kind of feels redundant when you say that it is certain. Like, no matter which distance, if it's certain, then it's certain. It doesn't need to be more certain than it already is. But I digress. Had already lost any means of fighting back. He could only try to dodge Shannon's bullet and place his bet on the second round. Like, unless Kanon dodges the bullet as well, this will be it. They both had that same view of the situation, which meant one could be taken by surprise. Kanon dashed forward like a tornado, bent over so low that he was almost crawling over his shadow. This duel could only be settled by a bullet, but he wasn't the only one who had a bullet. If he could steal Shannon's gun away from her, he could turn this all around. Oh god. And if Shannon could calmly shoot for Kanon, it would all be over. The odds that Shannon would miss, or that he could get close enough to her before she fired. Kanon bet all the chips he had on these. Shannon could draw Kanon in until the last second, then shoot him from a closer distance. She could also pull the trigger just before he reached her, and they would start over from the beginning even if she missed. Shannon kept her gun pointing at Kanon's forehead, and she compared these options until the final moment. She led her shot, calculating the distance he already moved and the time it would take to pull the trigger. Lady Luck smiled, impartially. And also magic math god. In a flash, Kanon leapt to within striking distance of Shannon, and she missed the final moment to pull the trigger. He swung his hand up and smashed the gun she held upwards. Oh. Oh god. That strike sent her gun flying into the sky. At the same time, Kanon's gun also flew from his hand and soared into the air. The two guns danced a rondo through the sky, reached their peak, and began to fall. Oh god. If they both catch those guns, they won't know which gun has the bullet and what gun doesn't. It's really a matter of luck at this point, I think. By that time, neither one of them knew which gun was theirs. Exactly. The two guns were exactly the same. Everything about them was identical. There was no way to tell them apart. However, there was one difference. Only one of them had a bullet inside. The pair raised their hands to the sky, trying to grasp their fate, their miracle. It was as though they were trying to grasp the wings of a descending angel of miracles. Only one wink. The pair looked up at the brilliant sky, and entrusted everything to Lady Luck. Then, they each grabbed one of the guns out of the air, and after dancing a momentary rondo, their arms crossed each other. Even that was like a dance, and the barrels of each of their guns came to a dead stop against each other's forehead. Even they could not know which gun held the bullet. When they both pulled the triggers, one would die, and one would remain alive. The match would end. George and Jiska had no way of knowing how it would turn out until that moment came. However, was it really impossible for the two holding the guns to know? The barrel of Kano's gun, which had already been fired, must have been warm. And the barrel of the other gun, which Shannon hadn't fired, should have been ice cold. So, perhaps the pair of them did realize which gun was which. Oh. And yet, both expressions were as solemn as could be, showing that they would hold total belief and zero doubt in their own fates until the moment the triggers was pulled.
悲しまないで。私たちはすぐに黄金鏡で会えるよ。
僕たちはもっと早くこうするべきだったね。
そうすれば再会しなくて済むのにね。
いいさ。この決闘さえも、もはや今日という日の前にはただの茶番さ。
そうだね。どうせ蘇る黄金鏡の前には本当にただの茶番。じゃあ後ほど。
後ほど。
さようなら。